So good morning or good night, depending on where you are, and welcome to another review of The Children a Couch and another one of the series, Is It That Bad? And today we're tackling a band that everyone knows it as a huge band of prog metal, Dream Theater. And we're tackling the album that they put out in 2016 called The Astonishing, which you can see in the back of my I decided to put it in the back. So today again I'm joined again by Tom the Green Man and JC Rock and Metal Reviews. So guys, how are you this morning or wherever time zone you're located in?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Very good.
Thanks.
It's afternoon in the UK.
Yeah, you know, you're in the future, Tom.
Yeah, we are. How appropriate for this album as well.
Yes. So so yeah, we're gonna talk about Dream Theater, The Astonishing. So I'm gonna do an intro for this album. So in a world where music is banned, one band is chosen to save music, and that is Dream Theater, The Astonishing. That was the intro. I tried to do, you know, remember in the 90s where they had the movies and they put those in a world. So yeah, because this album feels like it could be like a fucking play. You know, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes of music. I think it's their longest album. And it's an album that I think when it came out, it got good reviews and receptions. But I think over the years, those good receptions have gone, like, people have like, I don't know how many people return to this. I haven't returned to this album in a long time, but I said for this series, let's go back to The Astonishing. So we're gonna do our normal drill. We're gonna talk about, like, you know, what we thought when it came out, our least favorite tracks. And since this is a double album, I think we can pick 4 songs because there's so many songs here. But yeah, there's a lot of intros and stuff, but we'll get to that later. And then we'll give it our final conclusion. So let's start today. JC, take us away. What did you thought of this album when it came out back in 2016?
So this album, I didn't listen to it when it came out. I really wasn't really interested in listening to it. I only listened to it the first time because, you know, when the last Dream Theater album came out, I decided to do a ranking video on my channel, and I kind of had to listen to it. And that was my first time, and it's kind of what I was expected because I've only heard like bad things about it, and for me, it's like it's long, it's boring, and it's like the things that I don't like about Dream Theater. That for me, Dream Theater, I always like their like longer, proggier songs, their heavier stuff. But I never liked those ballads. They were just like too like sappy and ballady for me. I guess that's how I would describe them. Like I never liked Dream Theater ballads, and this album is just filled with this boring, this sappy ballads. It's 2.5 hours long. It's I think 35 songs. Actually, like when we get to our second point, I kind of like just put like little notes on it for each song, but it's just very boring. That's just my how I feel about it, and it's just very tedious to listen to it from start to finish. I know it's a story, and it's kind of played like an opera, but when you have a double album and it's long, I mean, there are good rock operas, like the Who's Tommy, the Quadrophenia, and there's so many even like great double albums. But this, it's too long, and there's like nothing here I will like return to. I think if there are any like good songs, they come like towards the end, but I think if you like picked out all the good songs, you might get like 20 minutes of music. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about this. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts. I'll let Tom go.
That's a good one, JC. That was so. Tom, what did you think of this when you heard it?
Yeah, I mean, I think John Petrucci had probably intended this to be listened to front to back, all in one kind of 2 hour, 10-minute sitting. And the problem is with me in this album is many times when I've listened to this, I have only listened to it in segments, because to sit down and to absorb it for 2.25 hours, even on my longer journeys on the train or driving, it wouldn't be long enough to get through the whole album. So I've never really sat down and listened to the whole thing from start to finish, first of all. The sort of the thing that I find interesting is some of the I read a bit more about the concepts and the story behind this, and it's all this futuristic dystopian stuff with this Ravenskill rebel like militia who are getting together to sort of try and, I think, overthrow or bring music back or something like that, because music is only generated by the Nomax, which I think are the little machines in your background wallpaper, Victor. And I thought there were some novel ideas in the story and the concepts, but the delivery on this album for me wasn't sort of executed particularly well. I thought I kind of now sort of appreciate some of the ideas, and I think that John Petrucci and Jordan Rudess, there's stuff here which is I don't know. I think that sometimes, like JC kind of touched on, with some of the themes that are repeated throughout the album aren't always particularly interesting enough, and because they're repeated quite often, or that same sort of style. I love James LaBrie, but I think sometimes his vocal moments kind of get a little bit jarring from in certain tracks on this album as well. So it's just a massive epic album. But I think, as you mentioned, this is kind of a musical. It's like Dream Theater the musical. It's even a little bit at times. Does anyone else get a Disney vibe from this? It's like Dream Theater Disney musical, isn't it? A bit, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's sad? I would rather listen to Moana soundtrack than this shit. But so my initial thoughts were, I did listen to this when it came out in 2016, because I used to write for a blog back then, and I did a review, and I think at the I don't know why I gave it I didn't give it such a bad review, but as the years have gone by, I really don't like this album. There's so many things wrong with it. First of all, it's too fucking long. The story is bland as fuck. Like the dystopian society where music is banned. Oh, come on. It would be like the worst sci-fi movie ever. It's like that movie with Sean Connery. He's like in a diaper. What's it called? Sword or something? It's like all the bad sci-fi cliches put together. And I don't know if they thought that maybe someone would buy this and do like a movie, but I hope not, because that would tank The Astonishing, the movie. But yeah, like Tom said, there's some songs here that I'm reminded of like a Disney, and that's not good. When you're thinking of a metal album and comparing it to Disney musical, you're listening to something bad. And John Petrucci wrote this. He's very ambitious, but he's also a pretentious fucker. He's John Petrucci. He's like, oh, I'm John Petrucci. Like, okay, yeah, whatever. But yeah, this album, the concept is bloated. I think you can trim half of this album, or maybe more, and get like 20 decent, like JC said, 20 minutes of good music. But that leaves like almost an hour and 60 minutes of crap. And it's an album that it's hard to sit through and listen to it. This morning I woke up early and started listening to it, and I went for a drive to get some breakfast, and I almost fell asleep driving. I'm like, oh my god. So I had to switch to 90s hip hop. but yeah, that's what I feel of The Astonishing. I think maybe if the concept would have been fleshed out better and shortened, and maybe it would have been more interesting. But the way that they did it, it's very cheesy in my opinion. So yeah, that's my first initial thought of The Astonishing. So Now we're going to round 2, and we're going to name the songs that are the worst offenders in this album. So JC, what are your picks?
Okay, I'm just gonna pick some off the list because I have a lot, I guess. Track number 7, "A Savior in a Square." It's just boring. I'm gonna be saying that a lot, like throughout my picks. It kind of takes too long for the vocals to come in, and it just doesn't do anything for me. Track number 9, "Act of Faith." It just it sounds like it's like a movie score at first, and then it kind of goes into those like piano ballads. And I really don't like Dream Theater when they're like doing those like stripped down like piano style ballads. Even on their good albums, I usually like don't like those songs as much. So that one I don't like. Let's see, track 15, "Chosen." I mean, it's just nothing else more to say about it. It's a ballad. There's too many ballads on this album, and it just again is kind of boring. Let's see, what else? As we get towards the second part, which they call actually Act 2, the last 12 songs. I would say track number 4 of Act 2, "Begin Again." Again, there's just nothing there. I mean, there's nothing interesting about the song. And track number 10, "Whispers of Act 2, Whispers of the Wind." Again, it's just, I mean, there's really nothing interesting about it. I mean, I can't really like say how bad it is because it's not like there's nothing there. And I'm just like looking at my notes, and I'm putting my notes in. Even the track right after that, it has like these violins. It kind of sounds like country music. That's like "Hymn of a Thousand Voices." So I gave you 6. So that's all. I mean, it's just like nothing really interesting for it to be a good song, or even like say much about it. So that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, so for me, one of my least favorites is "Brother, Can You Hear Me?"
Oh God, yeah.
Like, yeah, that's it. I don't know, that is one of the examples of where I found the vocal parts of that song a bit jarring, and didn't really enjoy the chorus. It gets more and more emphasized, doesn't it, towards the end, when he sort of starts yelling "brother" almost. It's not quite yelling, but "Brother, can you?" It almost sounds like the sort of thing you might sing drunk after a late night. That one, "Brother, can you hear me?" I don't know.
Like, brother, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, fucker, I'm right next to you.
There's really short tracks I didn't really like, to be honest, and I've named one of those because I thought there were too many of those in the album that were just padding it out more than it needed to be. So like "Digital Discord" or "The Hovering Sojourn" were 2 I've named here that were the short tracks I didn't really enjoy because they were just kind of
it's just
a bit of
robot noises.
experimental. Yeah, just weird noises and stuff, and it was kind of just padding the album out. Another one I've got here, I think, was "When Your Time Has Come" as well, which didn't really do a lot for me, that one. Just felt like by that point in the album as well, I had pretty much I think this is where I felt that some of the same themes were repeating a bit too much for an album that's as long as this. But yeah,
I would agree with you. So yeah, picking bad songs from this album is easy because it's so bad. One that you haven't mentioned is where they introduced the evil Lord Nefarious. And it's like, "Oh, I'm your ruler. Music is banned." And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, is this Jafar from Aladdin?
I almost picked that one out. Yeah, I thought it was very like emo, like My Chemical Romance, that kind of that was the impression I got. But yeah,
My Chemical Romance is awesome compared to this crap.
yeah, I know, but
Yeah, but that one and a Savior in the Square, when it's like, "I've come here to bring you music." Yeah, I have to sing it because so people can get the effect of how shitty this is. I'm like, I rather listen to the sound of fucking music than listening to this. yeah, it's just so pretentious, and I'm like, and I just, to me, the story is so cheesy, and cheesy not in a good way. It's like I would have loved to be the producer of this and just sitting right, like having John Petrucci, like, oh, I'm gonna play you this album, and just be like, no, John, we know you can play all the chords, but delete this shit. I'm like, this album is bad. Your storytelling is crap. So restart. Forget the astonishing. It should have been called the forgottishing. Forget it. But yeah, I'm sure, like, he's John Petrucci. No one would say shit, but I would love to be sitting next to him and telling him, "You're a great guitar player, but this is shit." Because it's just bad. Like picking songs. Oh, 3 days. 3 days is another song where it's like the Lord Nefarious talking, and he's like, "Oh, you have 3 days," and all the laughing, and you're like, "Oh God, not even the bad guy. It's cheesy, it's laughable. You know, you're not, when you're laughing at a story, you know it's bad. You know, and yeah, just brother, can you hear me is another one, like what Tom was saying. Yeah, I like his analogy of, that's a song that you could be in a pub at 2 a.m. and just super drunk and spilling your guts out to your friend, and brother, can you hear me? And yes, it's just that bad. The thing with this album is, like, I was reading the concept. He said that they were inspired a lot by Game of Thrones and Star Wars, and they mixed that. And I'm like, ugh. Yeah, and I don't know. I think of Les Miserables too when I listen to this, like that type of feel of the play. But yes, it's a album that it's easier to pick bad songs, and I think also the two songs, the beginning of the album with Descent of the Nomads and Dystopian Overture, they're like, do we really need to have all the noises and that to have an album that long? Like, you can cut that shit out. Like, it's, and the gift of music is also terrible. It's just like telling the story of like how music is banned in this dystopian society, and it's just corny as hell. So at the end of the day, I don't think there's any good tracks on here, or anything that I would like to go back to. So yeah, we're going to the final round where we say if it's thumbs up or thumbs down. So JC.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a thumbs down. I usually like, I try to defend albums at times, but this one just doesn't have anything for me. I mean, like we were talking about all throughout this video, it's too long, it's boring. There are too many songs. There's nothing memorable about it. There's really no songs that I can pick out and say that I like, or I remember very well, or I can sing along to it. Just you listen to it and it seems like very tedious to get through. It's like a torture to listen to this from start to finish. It's just really bad, and I give it a thumbs down. It just it just doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you,
Okay.
Tom?
Okay, so if you watch my ranking, this wasn't actually the bottom of my Dream Theater ranking, which is maybe surprising. For me, this was harder than I thought it was going to be, because I actually like the parts of this album I do like, because I've only been pretty critical of it so far, but there are parts of this album that I do actually quite enjoy. So I have written down the songs I liked. One is A Better Life. I think that progresses quite nicely towards its end. And I quite like the bit where he's singing about Evangeline, I think, towards the end, and it kind of goes into a nice little crescendo. I quite like that song. Raven's Kill, starts very slow with very light piano stuff, and it feels like it's going to be another ballad kind of a track, but it does go into quite a cool heavy guitar riff midway through, and builds, I think, quite nicely towards the end of that track. And there are parts of this album where I don't mind the Labrie big vocals, but it's just sometimes it's the more over the top themes I don't like. When he brings it in a bit and he refrains a bit more, I actually quite like some of his vocals on this album. It's just there's not enough of that for me. It's all too overblown and all too over the top. And I quite liked My Last Farewell. I think it was The Walking Shadow going into My Last Farewell. Didn't mind that. And Our New Worlds. It's a little bit cheesy and happy, but I think I'm revealing that I don't mind musicals too much as well here, which may be partly why I don't hate this album. So I'm going to give Hector the casting vote and say I might just save this by the skin of its teeth. I'm saving this one.
Nice. So now it's my turn, and yeah, I gotta say that this is one of the worst concept albums I've heard in my life. I tried to find some redeeming shit, but I just fucking hate this album. It's boring. It's long. Yeah, James LeBrie sounds good in some songs, but I don't think it's enough to salvage this. You know, it's just too long. Like if there's so many things that they could have cut out of this album and maybe work the story like more interesting, like the music thing, like A World Without Music. It sounds like a Disney plot movie. So yeah, I have a lot of problems with it. I haven't gone back to it in a long time, and I would say that this is one of Dream Theater's worst albums. I would rank it like super low.
Yeah, it'd still be low down on mine as well, probably.
Yeah. It's an ambitious concept. I'll give that to the band. It's ambitious, but it's performed not, I wouldn't say poorly because they're great musicians, but it's boring. You know, it's just boring. So I can't give it a thumbs up. It's way down for me. So yeah, this is the first time where we have like it's still certified bad, but Tom like had some sentimental value to it, and maybe he's having hope that one time he will interview John Petrucci, and he's like, oh, I don't want to interview him, and having him, oh, look at the video or trash your album. Yeah, I would totally interview John Petrucci, and believe me, I would say to his face, no man, that was a bad album. Yeah, I have no quarrels with like I keep it real.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, yeah. So this is what we think of The Astonishing. So yeah, it is that bad. Only Tom has loves it a little bit, but me and JC were like, nope. So guys, what did you think? Yeah, a little bit. What did you think of Dream Theater The Astonishing? What are your favorite tracks? Comment. We would really want to know. Let's have a discussion about the concept, and if you agree with us, if you don't agree, like maybe it's an album that 20 years from now will be hailed like a masterpiece. Oh, it was ahead of their time. Maybe, we don't know, maybe in 20 years music will be banned, and then we will be like, damn it, Dream Theater was right. But we don't know. But coming up next for us, we're going to tackle an album by the mighty Black Sabbath, Dehumanizer, that came in the 90s. And that's one more of their debatable albums. So next time we're going to talk about that album. So if you like the videos that we're putting out, do not forget to subscribe, and do not forget to give us a like and share it with people. If you have John Petrucci's email, send this video to him.
Oh no.
You'll be like, no, yeah,
that would be watch it.
Yeah, I don't think he will watch it, but hey, at least it's shorter than your album, John. But yeah, so, and do not forget to subscribe to JC Rock and Metal Reviews. He has some great content on his channels and on rankings. And also Tom the Green Man. He's got he talks about like sci-fi, horror movies, and he also has a new series that is called the Shoegaze Files. That if you love shoegaze, it's pretty cool, and he's got 2 artists interviews for shoegaze. So yeah, congrats on those, my friend. Like I seen that, and it's good.
Get in touch if you're a shoegaze artist or a band.
Yeah, if you're a
We'll come
shoegaze
looking
artist,
for
man,
you.
and if you have an artist that you're going to interview, I would love to do a joint interview with you on your channel for the shoegaze
Sounds good.
files. And also, if you're following me and you haven't yet subscribed, come on, what are you waiting for? Like, I promise you, you will be astonished. You see what I did there? I used the title of the album. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shieldo in a Couch, and we'll see you next time or in a Is It That Bad album. Thank you and good night.